Hello, welcome back to Everyday Executive, where this is a safe place for you to ask questions and get tips and tricks to get the life and career of your dreams. One of the common questions I get asked often is, okay, I'm in management now, or I'm ahead of a project team. How do I motivate the team? How do I motivate the team to get the results that we want? So today we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some tips and tricks that you can do to help motivate your team. The first thing is when you're meeting with the team, you really need to communicate expectations. And I know that seems probably common sense, right? But, common sense isn't always the way these meetings can go. And so, when you're communicating expectations, you need to get the group aligned into, hey, this is going to be a safe place. This is a safe zone. And I often will say that this is a safe zone for people to give their input, to ask questions, to get brainstorming creative ideas as you work through a problem. And sometimes you have to remind people and allow people often that safe zone experience. Because as we all know, sometimes when we're working through a project and things get tough, it can get a little tense, right? It can get a little tense, but that's really when your group and your team can really get aligned the best often ways, especially if you can work through those tough times. So as you're working through a problem, you're working through a challenge and people are brainstorming ideas, keep reminding the group that this is about what is our why behind the project that we're doing. Remind people that this is a safe zone for people to be able to express themselves in a way that will be productive to get you to the place that you want to get to. What are your objectives as a group? Make sure that's well outlined so everybody understands what is the objective we're trying to accomplish today. And again, sometimes, you'll hear me say, we can't boil the ocean, but we can boil one pot at a time. What objective are we working on today as a group? And if there are, topics that get brought up that maybe don't align with that objective, put that on the parking lot. Put that in the parking lot and write down so it doesn't get lost or forgotten, but it doesn't kind of redirect the group into an unproductive part of the conversation. If you're still feeling like you're not getting everyone aligned, one of the tips that I can give you is to read the book 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. I actually did this in a couple career paths of mine in multiple ways. And I actually when I have new team members come onto my team, I actually ask them to read that book as well. It really is a resource if you're struggling with how to bring a team together in how a high-functioning team can work. So I highly recommend that resource as well. Don't allow for sabotagers, and the book will talk about that as well. Don't allow for someone to sabotage the group. What do I mean by that? Sometimes it's really not even known. Maybe the person is having other things that they're working through, and they don't even realize that maybe some of the things that they're saying that is making people feel like they're not able to safely talk. Those need to be addressed. For example, somebody on your team says, "Hey, I thought of this idea." And maybe there's someone that isn't as assertive in bringing up that idea. If you have another person on the team saying, "Well, that's stupid," or "We already tried that already," that is a form of sabotage. And we don't always look at it that way, right? Because we always want to be on the positive, but it really needs to be addressed. And that's where I say you really need to have that safe zone. And we're not going to be criticizing ideas. Every idea needs to be looked at, even if you're not going to use the idea to get to the best outcome. So don't allow for sabotaging. But okay, something went wrong. Now what? Whatever decision you made, maybe it wasn't the right, move, or maybe you needed to redirect in your project. What do you do now? One way to work with a team is to do a lessons learned or a debriefing. And these kind of things actually sometimes bring the team together and more motivated the next time than other things. Bring the team together. Critically think about what lessons did we learn from this? Instead of it being, well, that was the wrong decision. And sometimes maybe that's said as the leader, I will say, well, we really messed that one up. And that sometimes even with humor can lighten a team and motivate them to know, hey, this is a safe zone. I'm willing to take on that responsibility as the leader anyway. Let's work on this and figure out what did we do wrong that we can do better the next time. That will also build trust and integrity with your team, which will motivate the team next time to work a little bit harder. One of the things that, would also be a way if you're working through a team, and especially if they're needing to come to you with decisions, you actually will have a better team if they can critically think without you there. What do I mean by that? If you're a leader that really is, dominant in the decision making and really is solution oriented, that's fantastic. We have other videos that talk about how that can get you noticed. But when you're working with a team, you can't be the only person that's making those decisions, or frankly, you'll have more of what wrong than what goes right because you're not going to have all the answers. So sometimes the best motivation for a team is allowing the team to do it without you. You give them guidance, you give them expectations, you communicate often, you give them support. You don't, when they come to you, say, that's a wrong idea. But you let the team kind of critically think through what are some of the solutions that you have for this problem. What that does is it really builds trust in you as a leader, and it builds trust with the team to work through that. You probably will get better outcomes in the future anyway, because that builds momentum for the future. You want to hire people. I always say this, hire people smarter than you. If you're in the hiring capacity of your job for a team, one way you work through that is you hire people smarter than you. You hire people that complement your skill sets and your weaknesses, and you embrace that. Some leaders may feel a little bit intimidated by that, and I say that's not what's going to get you the career and life of your dreams. What's going to get you the career and life of your dreams is having a highly motivated, functioning team that works with you and collaborates with you, and you can move forward together that way. So one of the ways you do that, again, is you hire people smarter than you. That way, you're having different perspectives and different objectives to the problems that you're solving. Always have your decisions be mission and goal focused, though. So when you're giving those expectations to the team, really be setting through what is our mission here? What are our goals? What are we trying to accomplish? Those do need to be very articulated well, and sometimes they can be fluid. How we get there can be fluid, and sometimes we say it's kind of like a rowboat. We're all going across the lake, but sometimes we may be going left and right. Sometimes we're going in a straight line. So how you get there isn't necessarily the issue or something that should be focused on per se, but the goal and where we're going does need to be. This is kind of simple, but do you all genuinely like and respect each other on the team? That really will also motivate. Besides, and it's not that you need to be best friends, and I'm not talking about after hours and weekends. I'm talking about, is there a genuine like and respect for everybody on the team? Do you laugh often? Use humor in those stressful situations, and usually humor on yourself, never with others. When you do those things, that's where you little bits and pieces where you build trust and integrity with your team that ultimately will get you the best outcomes in the future. Be present and round. Be approachable and comfortable. One of the ways you really need to be is you need to be present and approachable. Again, if you're allowing the team to work through a problem, after you've clearly set expectations, make sure you're approachable for those questions and support. That will make the team feel like, gosh, we got this, but we know if we're stuck, we have somebody that we can go to. That will motivate the team to do better as well. Have fun, but not that kind of fun. I always kind of say, we talked about laughing and we talked about humor. Have fun as a group. Try to plan activities that aren't focused on the problems that you're doing. Maybe it's as simple as a potluck. Maybe it's going out for bowling. Maybe it is going out for a drink, during after hours to just say, hey, let's take this meeting off site. We're going to discuss this, but we're going to just take it off site. Have that kind of fun, and you will find that people genuinely like each other, or maybe feel a little bit more comfortable having those tough conversations in an off-site area. Work with the team, not just decide. We talked about that before, that you want to be that supportive role, but you don't always need to be the person that makes those decisions. but you need to own the decision when it happens. So in this case, another way that will completely build trust with your team and you and motivate them to want to work together better would be if something went wrong or it wasn't the best decision, you as the leader do not blame the team. You as a leader, you take accountability and ownership for that because ultimately it's your team. So even if you're not the person making those decisions in that group, you have to own it. You never blame. Now, that's not to say you don't hold people accountable if there were expectations that weren't met with your team, but the way you need to be as a leader moving forward, and that can be a tough lesson, that emotional intelligence in owning the decision, even if you weren't part of the process, is part of that emotional intelligence building. But I guarantee if you do a lessons learned after that, your team will appreciate you and will want to work harder for you in the future when you are not blaming others. Because as long as you know they're mission focused, not everything's going to go perfect. Things are going to go wrong. And that's okay. That's okay. That's how we learn. We just have to make sure we're doing those things that we talked about with debriefing and lessons learned and not blaming or sabotaging and working through it together as a team. Just be honest and work with integrity. And that's where you'll get those that work for you that will work honest and with integrity as well. Number one, though, as well, is you need to hold yourself accountable before you hold others accountable. Just because you're allowing a team to do it doesn't mean, you yourself can't slack off as well. You need to hold yourself accountable, and then the team will respect that as well. So these are just some quick hitting tips that I can offer to help you motivate the team that have to do with those softer skills. And we've talked about that in upper episodes, that you're building up your skill sets for your team and your future career and your dreams. Those are what's going to propel you forward. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at everydayexecutivepodcast@gmail.com. Please give this a like and let me know in the comments below, what questions do you have to motivate a team? What experiences do you have when you're trying to work with a team together? And I'd love to hear from you. Thank you and have a great day. We'll talk soon.